I've been in Web3 and crypto for the past 5 years. Got my start as a data analyst, and kind of went down the route of coding in Python with pandas and writing SQL queries, and did some stuff on Dune, and then actually joined Raid Guild in 2020, and worked a lot on documentation and onboarding processes for DAOs, and then also contributed to writing a lot of community-facing content or stuff of that nature. And then I learned about DAOhouse, and that was really the turning point for me to learn a lot more about DAO infrastructure and tooling. And kind of came full circle because one of the first people I met in Web3 was James Young at collab.land in 2018, just before he summoned Moloch DAO with Amin and Arun Bupatini, really was fascinated about DAOs at the time, but I had no idea what the hell it meant. I was focused on, prior to that, community currencies and kind of working on a project called Native that was basically a blend of Aragon or Colony, and working on a lot of the existing DAO tooling at that time. So yeah, now I'm stepping into this role at collab.land where I am focusing on verifiable credentials and what we can do with this tooling. So I'm just going to start out by reading something that I think will lay a little bit better context about how I see verifiable credentials fitting into the larger picture of Web3 and how we can actually leverage this tooling to create better socialware. And I'll define that in a moment. So just jumping right in, I'm going to read right from the page. So we are witnessing the unfolding of a new era in Web3 centered around identity, reputation, access, and control, built atop all of the standards and primitives that blockchains, layer 2s, state channels, oracles, decentralized data providers, DeFi and money Legos, NFTs, DAOs, decentralized identifiers, vCreds, non-transferable NFTs, and soulbound tokens have laid down. From these primitives, we have established mechanisms for peer-to-peer connection that uphold credible neutrality, which is a mechanism. Basically, a mechanism is credibly neutral that does not discriminate for or against any specific group of people. Promoting determinism, which is basically saying the future state of a system is predictable as well as the outputs of that system. Promoting immutability, the quality of being unchangeable once written into existence. Permissionless access as well as Sybil resistance. So all of these primitives have laid a very strong foundation from which we can build upon. And now we're just coming up with these newer tools, soulbound tokens, non-transferable NFTs, verifiable credentials, that we can start to kind of add to our toolbox. So my question is, building tools to foster trust and help DAOs better coordinate across communities, reducing social coordination costs by creating better mechanisms for tracking and verifying stakeholder activity, whether it be involvement or participation, as well as reputation and humanity, obtained from users in a consensual fashion. Is that what aligns us in our mission to reduce the cost and frequency of coordination failures present in organizations today? I want to quote something from Scaling Trust in DAOs, a paper written by Orca Protocol, Trustware versus Socialware. The authors describe trustware as mechanisms that create assurances through technology, incurring a low social coordination cost. And socialware as mechanisms that create assurances through human relationships, incurring a high social coordination cost. So getting into how verifiable credentials can actually augment or help create better socialware is really what I'm looking to explore here today. So how building collectively in the open with user consent and sovereign identity at the center, with composability and interoperability at the edges can bring us closer together and lay the proper foundations between DIDs, vCreds, SPTs, and non-transferable NFTs for the purpose of accelerating adoption of trustware through the advancement of socialware, increasing assurances and reducing social coordination costs through issuing and verifying reputation and giving granular permissions to access skill-specific domains with the ability to distribute control on based on certain conditions or criteria being met. So that is a whole mouthful of things for you guys to just like let marinate in your skulls for a second. So basically, I see Web3 as a vastly unexplored landscape, a dark forest that we're foraging into in every direction. People are working on these different primitives and looking to advance them in any way they can. So what I see, facilitating emergence and lighting the path through the dark forest are the pioneers, the planners, the settlers who carry directionally similar values, diverse perspectives, and drive to make impact. And they're aligned in the defense of user privacy and self-sovereign identity, hopefully. So promoting composability, openness, coordination over control, collaboration over competition. These are all values that I uphold in the role that I fill. So lighting the path on our dark and treacherous journey are our counterparts' identities. They're decentralized identifiers, and their reputation, which can possibly be verifiable credentials, based on off-chain activity that they have chosen to disclose consensually. You might be asking, how does the issuer of these vCreds decide when to assign reputation, and how is it verified? And what I'll say is we're not there just yet. We're approaching it. And just as Murphy's law states that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, we can assert in the normative sense that anything that can happen will happen. So we will likely see a lot of misuse or misapplication of verifiable credentials. Despite it being a standard, there's a lot of, there's still within a verifiable credential, within the schema, you can still configure certain attributes of a credential, and you can make that non-recognizable by any organization, which is an issue that we have to confront. So how do we create standards, or not standards, let's say, how do we create shared understanding as well as shared kind of like recognition of a verifiable credential across ecosystems, across protocols, across project teams? So I could just keep reading this, but I don't want to. The last thing I'll say is governance in DAOs takes place primarily at the social layer, where there is heavy reliance upon shared organizational processes and the rules of engagement. Describing the nature of socialware in Bankless DAO, a contributor FrogMonkey, who now is at Orca Protocol, writes, through codified documentation and processes that live on Notion and Discourse, we set rules about quorum, term limits, voting thresholds, etc., then proceed to vote on snapshot and rely on a multisig to execute the terms of the snapshot vote as per the rules we set. And despite systematizing these rules, Bankless DAO still relied heavily on human coordination and adherence to these rules, only went as far as awareness to follow them. So there's this issue that organizations don't actually basically follow the social processes that they create. So my question is, how can we automate those social processes or bring in tools that can augment the creation of those social processes or the adherence to them in such a way where we can actually codify this socialware that's being created using verifiable credentials. So stepping out of this thing I'm in, basically over the past couple of months, collab.land has been experimenting with actually introducing vCreds into the Web3 ecosystem. One of the first use cases we've actually seen them be implemented was with a subgroup of Metacartel called the Super Scouts. So Metacartel has been begging to ask this question of, there's this motto that the organization has gone by for the past few years, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we've been trying to kind of reevaluate and step back and try and understand what this duality really means, and how we can, instead of having people go fast alone and go far together, how can we all go fast and go far together? And this is where I think verifiable credentials can come and help create better kind of understanding of the social minutia that's happening both before a proposal takes place. Let's say, so Metacartel is a grants-giving DAO. If they want to give a grant to an organization in the Web3 ecosystem, and they want to enable, let's say, a subgroup of the grants-giving org, these super scouts, to be able to go out and actively seek projects that we believe have shared values, shared ethos, and are going to deliver on their goals and objectives. How do we, as a subgroup, go and provide that grant to that organization and establish a feedback loop from the super scouts who they're going out into the ecosystem, they're actively pursuing projects, but how do we create information symmetry so when they go and pursue a project, the rest of Metacartel DAO that's over here, the parent DAO, can see exactly what's happening here, why they're pursuing this project, how do we track funding to a project that the super scouts are giving grant funds to? These are all open questions and haven't been solved for, and I think verifiable credentials are helping with this. So in this initial implementation, collab.land, through its bot inside of a Discord server, basically set up a mechanism to do this like higher fidelity, high context governance, where you can create signal proposals within a Discord server, and based off of the members, the total number of people who are token gated into a channel based off of their reputation, and I'll get to that in a second. How can we make it so through upvoting and downvoting on a proposal, you can actually issue credentials based off of those interactions taking place to the members who are in that token gated channel. And then once quorum is reached, members in that channel, they've gotten their credentials saying they've either upvoted or downvoted, and then basically somebody from that group has to go and make a multi-sig transaction, sending the grant funds to the project that they want to fund. And all of this can be visualized and tracked by the Metacartel parent DAO without having to necessarily be involved in those interactions, right? And we're doing that through verifiable credentials. So, and how we're doing the token gating of reputation, we're using Orange Protocol, which is basically a protocol where any project team can go and design their own model based off of on-chain data to generate attestations to that person's on-chain data, and they have to consensually sign for it. And then they can generate a non-transferable NFT to their user that represents, the model that they just filled out. So for instance, in this example, we plugged in Gitcoin Passport to try and create some Sybil resistance mechanism for grantees who were onboarding into this system. So they were able to obtain this non-transferable NFT, basically saying, okay, I've connected my Discord, my Twitter, my my ENS, my POAPs. I've connected all of these things, and now I can be token gated into this channel and actually use this new proposal command to be able to receive a grant. And for each of those interactions, when I create a proposal, a credential is issued to me. For upvoting, downvoting, a credential is issued. And then upon proposal results, once quorum is met, another credential is issued to the proposer. And all this information is visualized through another project, we partnered with Sobel to be able, so basically to offer users the ability to go and see, okay, these are the credentials that Bao has racked up based off of these different interactions he's had in Discord. Okay, this stuff is cool, but why Discord-based governance? Why would we ever want to actually interact in this like strange way? I think one of the first answers to that would be like everything's already taking place in Discord, right? Now there are alternative solutions that are being worked on, like Common Ground and some Web3 kind of alternatives. But until then, a lot of the information is still kind of supplanted within this like bubble, which is Discord, and trying to extract the information from that has been very difficult. So bringing it back, what is actually cool about these verifiable credentials? So it's really around being able to issue attestations and make attestations to what somebody is doing off-chain. That's what I see happening. So to make it a little more concrete, we're also working on a project with Raid Guild right now around an initiative that spun up a couple of years ago around Skill Forest. And it's this idea that you can make skill-based attestations to people that you work with on a daily basis based off the projects they're working on. And these skill-based attestations can actually, you can start to accumulate them outside of on-chain activity. And you can use those skill-based attestations to get gated into additional servers or channels. So for instance, I could have racked up 5 skill-based attestations saying I'm a good project manager. And there could be Project Managers Guild that only allows people who have accumulated a certain number of verifiable credentials to be able to join that group. So this is where the token reputation gating comes in. You can, like what we're starting to see with this is that now communities are going to be able to start to be able to curate contributors a little bit better. Because currently there has been no mechanism to basically establish this on-chain, or sorry, this resume or this CV of all of the things that I've been doing in this community, and doing it based off of somebody's attestations to my skills. So that's one piece of it. The other piece that we're still researching around is around role-based attestations. So being able to level up your role within a DAO based off of social consensus through this new governance mechanism that we've created, right? So there's not just funding proposals, there's also proposals to possibly obtain attestations for work that I've done in the open. And then those credentials that I'm issued, I can actually use those, I can leverage those attestations to level up my role within a community. And then the role that I'm basically receiving is a TGR, a token gated role that you can use outside of, or like across different Discord servers. You can use it outside of Discord. You can start to do token gating, let's say on GitHub, for instance, or maybe you could even tie it to something like a hat, right? Where HAT's protocol is focused on DAO authority delegation. What if we delegate authority to somebody who's accumulated all these attestations that now gives them the ability to go and do certain things in the ecosystem in a fairly trustless way? So this is kind of the point I was making earlier around how do we accelerate the adoption of trustware through the advancement of socialware. And the advancement of socialware that I'm seeing is around verifiable credentials and decentralized identifiers. Now, like I said, we're not quite there yet. Ceramic is going to be unrolling ComposeDB in February or so, and Ceramic V2, which will allow for these data streams that are being created to actually be controlled and managed by the person who is the recipient of these credentials. And then they'll be able to do selective disclosure over who gets to view their credential, who gets to consume that credential, which is incredibly powerful. We're really at the beginnings of it. And another project that I would take my hat off to is Disco. I have so much to learn from their approach to verifiable credentials, and I think the cool thing about everything that we're working on is it can be composed together in meaningful ways. And that's what I'm seeing with these token gated roles and reputation gating, is how can we compose reputation from on-chain governance with your activity and your participation in off-chain kind of areas, right? And I think Discord it's like, why is everything happening here? I don't know, I'm frustrated by it, but we gotta live with it for now and figure out like, okay, these are the intermediate solutions that will help us to do a better job of assigning reputation, and also have a little bit of a better way of creating Sybil-resistant mechanisms that don't just rely on on-chain kind of activity. So super bullish Gitcoin Passport. I'm really bullish on Human Node. I had not known about that project until today, which is kind of unbelievable, but I really think like we are in the space of composability and interoperability. So like, why don't we optimize for being able to make these things work together more effectively? So another thing that we're looking at working on is creating a Zodiac module that can control a Gnosis safe through Discord-based governance. So based off of quorum being met in a Discord server, you can actually enact an on-chain transaction in a Gnosis safe, very similar to the reality.eth module with Snapshot. And we're looking to actually make that reverse compatible with Snapshot. So any proposal that's created in Snapshot can also post in Discord. It's really just like, how do we provide more optionality for these things and for communities to be able to decide, okay, these are the tools I want to use for our use case, for our purpose, and just make that as seamless as possible. So yeah, I don't really know where I'm going here, except for like, we're all going together in this direction, and it's badass. I love to be in this space with y'all. The DAOist is super cool. I think, all the projects and protocols that are here are spearheading into this direction in the future that's going to end up impacting tens, if not hundreds of millions of people. And we are really at the cutting edge. So sometimes it just takes recognizing that to see, okay, like, let's step out of our own little bubble and let's figure out ways to make this tooling a reality for possibly more people. And I think the best way of doing that is to diversify, to bring other projects into the fold. But how do verifiable credentials fit into all this? It's like, you're really like, this is the clearest path, in my view, to establishing ways of tracking off-chain activity. And that's why I'm so bullish on it. And I think we're going to see all this meaningfully impact how we can better curate the communities or the people and the right solutions to, kind of going fast and going far together. So yeah, I don't know how much time I have here. Looks like 4 minutes, which I'm thankful for because I did not prepare any of this. But guys, like, watch out. This stuff is going to come fast. There's some exciting stuff I want to share, but I don't know if it's appropriate. But okay, fuck it. So Collab is doing a little token launch in February. And we're looking to work with Lit Protocol to spin up a bunch of cloud wallets for users who have never even heard of Web3. where Collab is installed in all of these Discord servers. So it's basically, Collab has 6 million users who have connected their wallets to their bot. So the go-to-market here is insane. And if we can properly, it's like, okay, I'm forgetting my ideas. But it's all about approach here. Like, how can we unroll this stuff out into the ecosystem and have it make an impact for the actual users themselves? And I think verifiable credentials are the way to getting there. But right now, it's just we're experimenting with different use cases. So back to the LIT protocol example, there's 83 million people in these servers that have never connected a wallet. And we're looking to basically spin up these, what we would call on-chain contract-less wallets. But because this is all off-chain, it's more like how I've described it is like smart keys, where users don't have to manage any private key. It's managed purely through the consensus of that LIT protocol is basically providing. You have your cloud wallet, you can go and claim it, and then that data, this cloud wallet is a server that only you control. And the private key storage is done through LIT consensus. So what I'm excited about here is we're basically opening this door, this like kind of a Pandora's box of like, okay, all these people who have never interacted with Web3 are going to be able to, claim some tokens, and then possibly if they're developers or maybe they're in gaming communities, like we're going to touch all of these people, and they're going to ask this question of like, what is this token? What do I do with it? That's where the collab.land marketplace comes in. So we're building a developer marketplace where people can post their applications by staking their collab.land token, and consumers of those applications can either pay for it, or maybe there's some free models where they can download these apps. And that's where we're actually going to start to see maybe this economic system with Collab kind of arise, where different Discord communities, different projects will be able to download these mini apps. And some of the things we're looking at are like enabling a / command to claim an ENS name for your cloud wallet, like making that so seamless and happen all within basically using a Discord bot, which is the collab.land bot. All right, that should be nearly the end of my talk. We're at 2:30 now. I guess I'll put out some feelers for questions if you guys have any. I know I covered a lot here. Yeah, no questions? This is my first talk, by the way, so thanks for bearing with me. Yeah, appreciate it. I hope it was at least interesting, and I took you through like this like bob and weave rabbit hole. But yeah, I'm super amped to be in this space, in this community with you guys. So yeah, please feel free to come up and talk to me directly if you have questions and would rather not share your voice right now. But yeah, gonna be here all week. Excited for Shelling Point tomorrow. Lots of good stuff coming. All right, mic drop, bow drop. Peace. No questions? There we go. Risk taker.
So how do you plan to give all of the millions of users that are not in Web3 their fair share of tokens for the airdrop?
It's a really good question. So question was, how do we plan to provide these millions of users who haven't even heard about Web3 a token? to answer your question, I don't know what the mechanism is, or like what the distribution is going to look like there, but it's going to be a claim. So it's going to be something as simple as a slash command allowing you to claim and go to an interface that allows you to claim the tokens to your cloud wallet. But like I said, I have no idea what the distribution is going to look like. So in any case, I'm bullish because there's no reason not to be. There you go. Any other questions? I'll be here all day.
Is it possible to combine two verifiable credentials into one with tracking of their history? Is it possible to combine two verifiable credentials into one for an end user?
Yeah, so the question was, is it possible to combine two verifiable credentials into one? Is that right? So you could effectively design a credential that could be issued based off of two credentials that were issued previously to kind of create this like accumulation, right? I think that's interesting. I like the use case of using non-transferable NFTs or soulbound tokens to represent credentials that you've earned. Only because that can be used, that can be like your on-chain attestation to all of the like other attestations you've accumulated with verifiable credentials, but I think that's definitely feasible. You just have to create some, understanding around that, right? Some schema around how to, how these two credentials being represented by one apparent credential. Good question, though. All right, I'm out, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Have a great day. GM.